Hey guys, John here. How does a narcissistic, self-entitled shopaholic become a killer? Is it a twisted sense of entitlement, a compulsive urge, or a cold-blooded disregard for human life? A textbook narcissist is someone who thinks that they are the most important and special person in the world, and that everyone else should admire and praise them. They have a very high opinion of themselves and a very low opinion of others. They don't care about the feelings or needs of other people, and they may use or hurt them to get what they want. They are susceptible to any criticism or challenge, and they may react with anger, denial, or blame when they face any problem or failure. A narcissist lives in a fantasy world where they are the center of everything and where nothing matters but their own satisfaction and pleasure. But how does narcissism develop in a person? Narcissism is a personality trait that involves an inflated sense of self-importance, a need for admiration, and a lack of empathy for others. It can develop from various factors, such as parenting style, genetics, brain structure and function, and environment and culture. Some parents may make their children feel either entitled or insecure. Some genes may make them more prone to narcissism. Some brain regions may make them more self-centered and insensitive, and some influences may make them seek attention and success at any cost. These are some of the possible causes of narcissism, but they are not the only ones. There may be other things involved, such as trauma, stress, or personality disorders. Narcissism is a complex and multifaceted phenomenon, and it may vary from person to person. In this video, we will explore the dark and complex mind of a narcissist with an obsession of acquiring expensive and luxurious items by any means necessary. Whether they are motivated by psychopathy, kleptomania, or narcissism, this killer will stop at nothing to satisfy their greed and envy, even if it means taking the lives of innocent people. This is a tale of crime, violence, and madness, where the only thing that matters is the price tag. This is the story of Dana Sue Gray, Serial Killer Documentary, Episode 2. Dana was born in Southern California on December 6th of 1957 to parents Beverly Hetzel, a former MGM starlet and beauty queen, and Russell Armbrust, a hairdresser who had 3 previous marriages before marrying Beverly. Russell and Beverly's marriage was doomed from the start. See, Beverly had a violent temper and a narcissistic obsession with her appearance. She often splurged on expensive items that she never used, leaving Russell with huge debts. However, the final straw came when Russell witnessed Beverly attacking an elderly woman who had offended her. He decided to end their marriage when Dana was only 2 years old. As a result, Dana grew up with a father who was rarely present and a mother who had a negative influence on her. Dana's behavior contrasted sharply with other children's. While other children obeyed their parents, Dana became rebellious and defiant. She would lash out at Beverly whenever she tried to discipline her, stealing money to buy candy or throwing tantrums. Her unruly behavior also affected her school life. She did poorly in all her classes, as she had no interest in learning. She did not get along well with other students, who avoided her or teased her. She was suspended from school many times for forging notes to skip class. But Dana's life took a tragic turn when she was 14 years old. Her mother had developed breast cancer, and Dana watched her suffer and deteriorate. After her mother's death, she had to move in with her father and his new wife, who did not welcome her. She was soon kicked out of their house when her stepmother found drugs in her room. As Dana grew older, she started having various relationships, starting with skydiving instructor Rob, whom she moved in with after she graduated from Newport Harbor High School in 1976. He helped her with nursing school for several years, also helping her to become a professional skydiver in the process. But not everything was as it seemed. Rob wasn't ready to be a father and demanded that Dana have 2 abortions during their relationship, something that filled her with anger and regret. After she was done with Rob and suffered a few miscarriages, she moved on to Chris Dodson, a windsurfer whom she had an off-and-on relationship with. In this relationship, she learned how to windsurf and golf, taking trips to Hawaii to participate in these adventurous events. After Chris, she met a man named Bill L. Gray. Bill was a fellow sports enthusiast who had known and admired Dana since high school. They ended up getting married in 1987 at an upscale winery in the Temecula area when she was 36 years old. They lived in the gated community of Canyon Lake, where they had several business ventures under the name Gray Matter, where they offered various services, such as landscaping, pool cleaning, and home repairs. They also sold sports equipment and accessories, such as golf clubs, windsurfing boards, and skydiving gear. However, the company was not very successful, and they filed for bankruptcy in 1993. Right after their company went bankrupt, Dana drove the marriage into more debt with her dreamland luxury shopping habits. As soon as she saw that Bill had no more money left to give, she left him and moved in with her new lover, Jim Wilkins, and his then 5-year-old son, Jason, even though she was still married to Bill. As you may all well see, Dana had embodied her mother's vain personality, and it clearly showed throughout all her relationships. She exploited the very same people who tried to help her advance in life, a habit that burned many bridges for her in the end. Little did everyone know a storm was brewing inside of Dana, now spiraling addicted to prescription drugs and alcohol, depressed and dumbfounded by the lack of money that served the purpose of her once lavish and thrilling life. She found herself out of work since she was caught stealing Demerol and other opiate painkillers at Inland Valley Regional Medical Center, a hospital where she worked as a labor and delivery nurse. This is where this story of vanity, narcissism, and unfounded splendor takes a dark turn. See, Dana, at the brink of ruin, got a little creative and devised a plan to settle all her debts. However, it was not a plan to reform her life, but a scheme that would enable her to maintain her luxury shopping and pampering. The consequences of a failed, deadly plot. Dana Sue Gray plotted to meet with her estranged husband, Bill Gray, on February 14, 1994. She contacted his parents and asked them to arrange a meeting with him. She claimed she wanted to reconcile, but in reality, she had a sinister plan. She had taken out a life insurance policy on him and hoped to kill him and collect the money. Bill agreed to meet her at 10 a.m. at a restaurant in Temecula, but he changed his mind at the last minute. He called his parents and told them to cancel the meeting. Dana was furious, an emotion that set a dark path and ultimately ended the lives of 3 innocent elderly women over the course of 1 month. First victim. After getting canceled on her strange husband's deadly plot, Dana couldn't stand her failure and decided to visit an old caring friend who had shared her home with her in the past. This friend was Norma Davis, an active 87-year-old elderly woman. She lived a tranquil life in the gated community of Continental Drive in Canyon Lake until Monday 14 of February 1994, when a horrific fate knocked at her door. Norma was surprised to see Dana at the door since she hadn't called beforehand to let her know she was visiting that day. But with a big smile on her face, she let Dana inside her home with the charismatic pretense of a casual, friendly visit. She gifted Norma some flowers and chocolates and chatted with her for a while. But this friendly visit turned brutal quickly. While Norma was sitting in her rocking chair, Dana stood up and grabbed 2 utility knives and a phone cord and proceeded to strangle Norma to death. As if this wasn't enough, she continued to stab her 11 times before leaving both knives stuck in her body. One was left on her neck while the other one was left on her chest. As Norma succumbed to her brutal, despicable injuries, Dana proceeded to ransack Norma's house, looking for valuables and money. She took Norma's credit cards, jewelry, and car keys and left the house. She drove away in Norma's car, a white Toyota Camry, and went on a shopping spree. She bought clothes, shoes, perfume, and other items, using Norma's credit cards. She showed no remorse or empathy for her friend and victim, and even bragged about her purchases to her friends and family. 2 days later, Norma's body was found by her best friend and neighbor Alice, who got worried that she hadn't seen Norma in a few days. Her horrifying discovery prompted her to call the police immediately. When the detectives arrived, they came to the shocking revelation that Norma's stab wounds on her neck were so severe they almost decapitated her. Sadly, for detectives, all the evidence that Dana left behind was a Nike bloody shoe print, leaving them with no other clues or motives for this inhumane, horrific murder. Second victim. Only 14 days later, Dana had spent all the money she could off of her first victim, Norma Davis, and her urge to shop was not being met. This led her to plot about who would be her next victim, and a name came to mind: June Roberts. June was a 66-year-old woman who lived in Canyon Lake, California. She was a widow who had lost her husband to cancer. She had 2 sons who lived in other states. She was a devout Christian who attended the Canyon Lake Community Church. She was also a volunteer at a local hospital where she helped patients and staff. She was well liked and respected by her neighbors and friends. She was also described as a loving, generous, and caring person who always helped others in need. They said she was a devoted mother, grandmother, and friend who enjoyed gardening, reading, and cooking. They said she was a strong and courageous woman who had faced many challenges in her life with grace and faith. Dana and June had met at the Canyon Lake Community Church, where they both attended. Dana had befriended June and had visited her home several times before. June had felt sorry for Dana, who had told her about her troubles with her husband, her job, and her addiction. June had prayed for Dana and had offered her support and advice in the past. In the early Monday morning of February 28th of 1994, Dana got inside her first victim's stolen car with her boyfriend's 5-year-old son in the front seat and drove to June Roberts' home. There she parked in front of her house and calmly told the little boy that she wouldn't be long, leaving him waiting inside the car while she spoke to June. June was surprised to see Dana at her house, but gladly engaged in conversation with her while she raked leaves in front of her house. Dana asked her if she could borrow a book from her to help her with her alcohol addiction, and as the loving and caring person that June was, she proceeded to invite Dana inside the house to find the book for her. After June innocently searched for the book, Dana unplugged her phone, both the straight cord and the curly cord, and quickly attacked her from the back, using the curly cord to strangle June. June tried to fight her off, but Dana proved to be too strong. When June stopped moving, Dana proceeded to rifle through her credit cards, stealing 2. Then she got inside the stolen car and drove out to pamper herself. She went to eat with the 5-year-old, stopped at a beauty salon, and got herself a brow wax, a perm, and a haircut for the little boy, where she spent a total of $164.76. Then went on a shopping spree where she bought a black suede jacket and several pairs of cowboy boots, a pair of diamond drop earrings, dog treats, 2 bottles of Smirnoff, and ironically a toy police helicopter, totaling well over $900 in just one day. The one that got away. In the early morning of Thursday, March 10th of 1994, only 10 days after June Roberts' murder, 58-year-old Dorinda Hawkins was working in her part-time shift at an antiques shop in Lake Elsinore, California, unbeknown that she would soon face death. A short blonde came into the store under the pretense that she wanted to buy a frame for her late mother's pictures. As soon as Dorinda walked to the frame's area and bent down to find her some viable options for this customer, she was attacked from behind with a telephone cord, and as she struggled to fight her attacker off, she pled for her life, telling her attacker that she had children who loved her, and that she didn't want to die, a plea that fell on deaf ears of this merciless attacker, and proceeded to hit Dorinda with a blunt object so she would stop resisting being strangled. Dorinda quickly fell to the floor and lost consciousness. With Dorinda presumably dead, the assailant took $5 from her purse and some petty cash from the register and fled the scene. Little did Dana know that Dorinda survived her brutal attack, calling for help and giving detectives a detailed description of her attacker, who soon would set them hot in her deadly trail. Fourth and last victim. 6 days later, on Wednesday of March 16, 1994, 87-year-old Dora Beebe, a kind and generous woman who loved gardening and animals, arrived home from a doctor's appointment, and as she was getting situated, she heard a knock on the door. When she opened the door, she was greeted by none other than Dana Sue Gray, under the false pretense that she was lost and needed assistance with directions. Dora smiled and kindly agreed to help this supposed lost woman by offering to show her a map she had inside her house. But as soon as Dana entered the home, she closed the door behind her and proceeded to choke Dora with a cord, finishing her off by hitting her in the head with an iron. Within minutes, Dana managed to find Dora's bank information, which helped her withdraw $2,000 in cash. Dana gets caught. Many of the residents of Canyon Lake, Southern California, were terrified by the 1-month span of horrors that they were forced to witness. Some moved in with loved ones, and even a group of elderly widows began sleeping in big groups at designated houses. They believed there was safety in numbers. There were also rumors that the murders were committed by a cult who engaged in ritual sacrifice, but after the brutal attack of Dorinda Hawkins, the shopkeeper and only survivor, a sketch by the police was made and released to the public through the media the very next day, a police play that would pay off very soon. See, Dana was so full of herself that she thought she could get away with murder. Literally. She didn't think anyone would ever catch her in her bloody rampage, but she was wrong. Dana's description was obtained from various merchants in the Temecula, California area where she used June Roberts' credit cards to go on a shopping spree. Dana had been spending so much money that the credit card company called the second victim's family of June Roberts to alert them of the massive spending. The detectives then went to all the stores where she used the credit cards and interviewed the cashiers, getting a physical description of Dana. They also learned the killer had dyed her hair recently and had a little boy that accompanied her sometimes, named Jason. But here is where it all came crashing down for Dana. There was a suspect in this case very early on that, after being ruled out, became very close with detectives. Her name is Jerry Armbrust. If you don't recognize that last name, let me help you. See, Jerry was Dana's father, latest wife, and stepmother, and she became a suspect very early on due to her visit one afternoon to her ex-mother-in-law and Dana's first victim home, Norma Davis. See, Jerry kept a very close relationship with her ex-mother-in-law Norma even after her son passed away years earlier. She continued to care for Davis, who was in very poor health and was still recovering from triple bypass surgery. Jerry was already riddled with suspicion. But it wasn't until detectives paid her a visit to talk about new details on the case that everything just clicked for Jerry. She told detectives that she believed the suspect to be her stepdaughter. Dana had just dyed her hair and her boyfriend had a son named Jason. The very next day, detectives ordered a search warrant for Gray's home and enlisted the help of ARCNet, Allied Riverside County Narcotics Enforcement Team, to stake out Gray's home in Lake Elsinore. Unbeknownst to the team, Gray was murdering Dora Beebe just hours before they began following her, trying to collect evidence. After seeing Dana go to the bank with Beebe's card and then go shopping, the detectives had enough information about her involvement in Dora Beebe's murder. Later that day, on March 17th of 1994, detectives arrested Dana while she was cooking dinner for her family. Detectives took Dana into custody, while assisting officers took her boyfriend and his son down to the station for questioning. While in custody, police found receipts, tags, and bags from the stores where she used the stolen credit cards of her victims, jewelry, clothes, and perfume that belonged to her victims, knives, cords, and blunt objects that she used as weapons, and blood, hair, and fingerprints that matched her and her victims. Even though Dana denied all accusations and stated that she was innocent, the mountain of evidence together with witness reports was enough to book Dana for murder. At a hearing on July 23 of 1998, Deputy DA Richard Bentley requested the death penalty, but Dana, scared to die, pleaded insanity, and this led her to plead guilty of robbing and murdering 2 women and attempting to murder another with the condition that she wouldn't be tried for her step-grandmother's murder. By pleading guilty, Dana avoided the death penalty and was sentenced to life without parole. Some relatives of the victims were not satisfied with Gray's plea deal. They thought she should get the death penalty for her brutal killings, but they agreed that she would never get out of prison. They said they made the deal because Dana had no criminal history before the murders, and because they wanted to save the families from hearing the gruesome details in court. They knew some of them were not happy and wanted more, but at least found some closure from knowing that she would stay in prison for the rest of her life. As for now, Dana Sue Gray is serving her sentence at the California Women's Prison in Chowchilla, still craving money and shopping, selling her signed panties and paintings to interested parties to satisfy her urges, something that reveals the twisted nature of Dana, who seems to have no remorse or empathy for her victims. She continues to exploit others for her own materialistic desires, even from behind bars. This case raises the question, did Dana's unstable narcissistic personality and lack of empathy play a role in her murderous spree? I want to know what you think. so please share your thoughts in the comments section below. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more serial true crime stories just like this.